Chapter 10 of Dot and the Kangaroo. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Betsy Bush. In Marquette, Michigan, May 2007. Dot and the Kangaroo by Ethel C. Pedley. Chapter 10. The fourth day of Dot's wanderings in the bush dawned brightly. The sun arose in a sky all gorgeous in gold and crimson, and flashed upon a world glittering with dewy freshness. Sweet odors from the aromatic bush filled the air, and every living creature made what noise it could, to show its joy in being happy and free in the beautiful bush. Rich and gurgling came the note of the magpies, the jovial kookaburras saluted the sun with rollicking laughter, the crickets chirruped, frogs croaked in chorus, or solemnly popped in deep vibrating tones, like the ring of a woodman's axe. Every now and then came the shriek of the plover, or the shrill cry of the peeweet, and gayer and more lively than all the others was the merry clattering of the big bush wagtail in the distance. As soon as the Kangaroo heard the bush wagtail, she and Dot hurried away to find him. No Christy minstrel rattling his bones ever made a merrier sound. Clickety-clack, clickety-clack, clack, 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 clickety-clack. He rattled away as fast as he could, just as if he hadn't a moment to waste for taking breath, and as if the whole lovely world was made for the enjoyment of bush wagtails. When Dot and the Kangaroo found him, he was swaying about on a branch, spreading his big tail like a fan, and clattering gaily, but he stopped in surprise as soon as he saw his visitors. After greetings, he opened the conversation by talking of the weather, so as to conceal his astonishment at seeing Dot and the Kangaroo together. "Lovely weather after the rain," he said. "The showers were needed very much, for insects were getting scarce, and I believe grass was getting rank, and not very plentiful. There will be a green shoot in a few days, which will be very welcome to kangaroos. I heard about you losing your Joey. My cousin told me. I was very sorry. So sad. Ah, well, such things will happen in the bush to anyone. We were most fortunate in our brood. None of the chicks fell out of the nest. Every one of them escaped the butcher birds and were strong of wing. They are all doing well in the world." When the vivacious bird came a little nearer to the Kangaroo, and dropping his voice said, "But, friend Kangaroo, I'm sorry to see you've taken up with humans. You know I have quite set my face against them, although my cousin is intimate with the whole race. Take my word for it, they're most uncertain friends. 2 kookaburras were shot last week, in spite of government protection. Fact." And as the bird spoke, he nodded his head warningly toward the place where Dot was standing. "This little human has been lost in our bush," said the Kangaroo. "One had to take care of her, you know." Of course. There are exceptions to all rules," chattered the wagtail. "And so this is really the lost little human there has been such a fuss about?" added he, eyeing Dot, and making a long whistle of surprise. "My cousin told me all about it." "Then your cousin, Willy Wagtail, knows her lost way," said the Kangaroo joyfully, and Dot came a little nearer in her eagerness to hear the good news. "Of course he does," answered the bird. "There's nothing happens that he doesn't know. You should have hunted him up." "I didn't know where to find him," said the Kangaroo, "and I got into this country, which is new to me." "Why, he is in the same part that he nested in last season. It's no distance off," exclaimed the wagtail. "If you could fly, you'd be there almost directly." Then the bird gave a long description of the way they were to follow to find his cousin Willy, and with many warm thanks the Kangaroo and Dot bade him adieu. As they left the bush wagtail they could hear him singing this song, which shows what a merry, happy fellow he is. "Clickety, clickety, clack, 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 clack. Who could cry in such weather, alack? With a sky so blue and a sun so bright, sing winter, winter, winter is back. Sportive in flight, chatter delight, clickety, clickety, clack. I'm so glad that I have the knack of singing clack, clack, clack."
If you wish to be happy, just follow my track. Take this for a motto, this for a code. Sing winter, winter, winter is back. Leave care to a toad and live a la mode. Clickety, clickety, clack.
They had no difficulty in following the Wingtail's directions. They soon struck a creek they had been told to pursue to its end, and about noon they found themselves in very pretty country. It reminded Dot of the journey they had made to find the platypus, for there were the same beautiful growths of fern and shrubs. There were also great trailing creepers, which hung down like ropes from the tops of the tall trees they had climbed. These rope-like coils of the creepers made capital swings, and often Dot clambered into one of the big loops and sat swinging herself to and fro, laughing and singing, much to the delight and amusement of the Kangaroo.
Swing, swing, a bird on the wing is not more happy than I, stooping to earth and seeking the sky. Swing, 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 see how high upward I fly. Here midst the leaves I swing, then as fast to my swing I cling. Down I come from the sky. Swing, swing, a bird on the wing is not more happy than I.
Thus sang little Dot, tossing herself backwards and forwards, and the Kangaroo came to the conclusion that there was something very sweet about little humans, and that Dot was certainly quite as nice as a joey kangaroo. In the middle of one of these little swinging diversions, a bird about the size of a pigeon, with the most wonderfully shiny plumage, flew to the tree on which Dot was swinging. Dot was so struck by the bird's beautiful blue-black glossy appearance, and its brightly contrasting yellow beak and legs, that she stopped swinging at once.
"You are a pretty bird," she said.
"I am a satin bower bird," it said. "We heard you singing, and we thought, therefore, that you probably enjoy parties, so I have come to invite you to one of our assemblies, which will take place shortly. Friend Kangaroo, we know, is of a somewhat serious nature, but probably she will do us the pleasure of accompanying you to our little entertainment." "I shall have great pleasure in doing so," said the Kangaroo. "I have not been at any of your parties for a long time. You know, I suppose, that I lost my little Joey very sadly." "We heard all about it," replied the bower bird in a tone of exaggerated, almost ridiculous sadness, for it was so anxious that the Kangaroo should think that it felt very deeply for her loss. "We were in the middle of a meeting at the time the Wallaby brought the news, and we were so sad that we nearly broke up our assembly. But it would have been a pity to do so, really, as the young birds enjoy themselves so much at the Bower of Pleasure. But," said the Satin Bird, with a sudden change of tone from extreme sorrow to one of vivacious interest, "I must show you the way to the bower, or you would never find it." Dot jumped down from the swing, and she and the Kangaroo, guided by the Satin Bird, made their way through some very thickly grown bush. The bird was certainly right in saying that they would never have found the Bower of Pleasure without a guide. It was carefully concealed in the most densely grown scrub. As they were pushing their way through a thicket of shrubs, before reaching the open space where the Satin Bird's bower was built, they heard an increasing noise of birds all talking to one another. The din of this chattering was enhanced considerably by the shrill sounds of tree frogs and crickets, and the hubbub made Dot feel like the little native bear, as if her head was empty. "This will be a very pleasant party," said the Satin Bird. "There is plenty of conversation, so everyone is in a good humor."
"Do you think anyone is listening, or are they all talking?"
inquired the Kangaroo timidly. "Nobody would attempt to listen," answered the Satin Bird. "It would be impossible against the music of the tree frogs and crickets, so everyone talks."
"I should tell the tree frogs and crickets to be quiet," said Dot. "No one seems to care for their music."
"Oh, without music it would be very dull," explained the Satin Bird. "No one would care to talk. You understand, it would be awkward. Someone might overhear what you said." As the bird spoke, the trio reached the place where the bower was situated. Dot thought it a most curious